CIF, Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages, and I become slightly shameless in telling you that I stood first in the whole India course that I never did before or after. Sir, for me it has been homecoming, and to come and see the home master of the ICSSR in his hometown, that is Professor Javid Alam again. So for me it is full of my opportunities. I feel flooded and submerged by a scholarship. So hats off to Putin, hats off to my esteemed Russian friends. You tell me that I will proceed, that you will carry the essence of my joke throughout Russia wherever you go. And sir, I have been a near student of Institute Vostokovedenie. If I remember Vostokovedenie Institute of Oriental Studies, sir, I remember Professor Katosh, Shirokar, and of course Primakov as well. My coaching, my very extreme, my great benefactor, Professor Mitrokin and all that. So I go back in the memory lane and I remember everything. Then sir, I have been a student of Moscow University. These are of course little bit academic and extra academic justifications for me to be here in Hyderabad, because after all you are holding a seminar. This is a bridge between Moscow and the institute and of course the ICSSR, sir. I think all of you must feel fully satisfied with my presence here, sir. Now the main problem. Where is the cow in the village? Every village has got of course a cow, sir. Every academic topic has got some peripheries, but where is the center of it, sir? With your kind permission, I will not bore you with the reading out, because I never applied for news. I mean, broadcasting business I have never been associated with, sir, but I have been a producer. So, energy sector cooperation between India and Russia is intertwined. My first submission is, sir, with the whole gamut of multifaceted ties between these two countries. The main issue is cooperation between Russia and India. It is multifaceted, it is time old, it is more than six decades old, sir. More than of my, I was born in the year 1945. I have to disclose because I stand superannuated, I can't concede it. Others do, but I can't. Sir, so this cooperation between India and Russia in the sector of oil and gas, of course, is intertwined very closely with the whole gamut of relations. Therefore, the new connotation of Putin, if it came in, it has got quite a lot. It speaks of petrochemicals and then, of course, petroleum roots as well, sir. It talks of uranium also, sir. It talks of even planes also, and sir, cooperation in this and that field also, sir. So this is the main thing. This paper is not heavily foot-kneaded. It is already duly circulated, sir. Section 1 is the introductory briefing, and Section 2 deals with Indo-Russian cooperation in the Caspian Sea, in the Sakhalin, of course, including Siberia and Nakodka, and in the sprawling Central Asiatic region, sir. Section 3 is the crux of the whole my paper. It reflects upon the central theme of discussion, that is the geopolitical context of energy security cooperation between India and Russia. I think I have not taken much time, but instead of borrowing hugely from Section 1 and 2, I come down, sir, straight away to the conclusive part of it, and I just wish to present it, sir. To conclude, sir, the uppermost geopolitical context of the multifaceted cooperation between India and Russia in the energy sector actually lies in its strategic partnership, which predominantly safeguards the paramount national interest of these two countries in the region. Because of the US-centric or NATO-centric structures in the solution of outstanding socio-economic and politico-strategic problems of the troubled-torn Eurasian region, there appears to have emerged vast opportunities for close cooperation between India and Russia in various fields, including energy security. The predominant US presence in Central Asia, with a hidden agenda and an access to oil as well as gas, is precisely aimed at eliminating as well as gas pipelines in this region. The interests of India and Russia thus coincide. Economic growth rates in the world. Russia is enormously endowed with abundant natural resources, technological capabilities, trade potential, and it has a highly talented reservoir of human resources. After the USA, it still continues to be most important military power. Energy security cooperation between India and Russia is a byproduct over 60 years. So, sir, I wish to emphasize again that Indo-Russian relations is continuously and in various fields, of course, developing. Multifaceted dimensions are there. We are cooperating in the field of defense, production, and on such very important items such as missile development program, our Chandrayaan 1, 2 and 3, then our joint military exercises, then in other fields, power generation, nuclear power generation and all that. The theme of this present seminar is closely intertwined with the overall entire relationship between these two countries. The two issues cannot be separated. They cannot be studied in isolation. So I think I finish, and then if there are queries, I am here to answer. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The discussion is held here was about my country. Thank you very much. And I ask Dr. Balaji to continue our discussion.
We will talk about India's energy security scenario and challenges. Well, India is the sixth largest energy consumer, whereas it is the 11th largest energy producer. India is self-sufficient only in terms of coal, but India actually imports the coking coal, which is used in iron and steel industry. India is not self-sufficient in oil and natural gas, and there is a probability that India would become self-sufficient in natural gas. Okay, that's fine. I'm moving because previous presenters have already spoken about the data. Okay. Next, turning to nuclear power, we are actually into developing the nuclear power through the three-stage program. That is the pressurized heavy water reactor that is using the finite uranium-235 and 238. And next is the fast breeder reactor using the plutonium, which is less finite. And the third is actually using the breeder reactor using thorium, which could actually potentially give power for centuries. But there are technological limitations. So now, in the next 30-40 years, it is imperative that India has to depend on foreign countries for oil and to meet oil and natural gas requirements. India has been depending on the Middle Eastern countries, like for instance, more than 65% of India's oil imports and almost the whole of the natural gas imports are from the Middle Eastern countries, that is Saudi Arabia for oil, Qatar and Oman for natural gas. But India is actually attempting to diversify the sources of oil and natural gas in order to not secure energy and also in order to overcome price fluctuations. India actually is seeking active cooperation in the African countries, with Algeria, Libya, Sudan, Nigeria. So India has entered into long-term contract so that Nigeria would sell India 44 million barrels of oil per annum. And India has invested in oil exploration, development and production programs in Sudan. India has invested over 750 million, US dollars. So, but the African collaboration actually is exposing India to direct competition from China. And China has the policy of entering into direct contracts with the regimes in Africa, where they develop close political relationship and they are much more active in providing foreign aid, unlike India. Similarly, turning to Asian scenario, India is trying to have strategic relationship with the Caspian countries, which hold 21% of world's oil and 45% of world's natural gas reserves. Under these circumstances, Russia is becoming a very important partner for India. No other country in the world except Russia has given a substantial partnership and also access to oil and natural gas resources. As known, India's oil companies hold 20% stake in the Sakhalin-1 project. This is in contrast to the Myanmar, where in spite of holding 30% stake in A1 block of natural gas, India is unable to actually get hold of the resources. In fact, the PetroChina company that belongs to China has actually won the marketing rights. Why is this scenario? It's because the relationship between India and Myanmar has not fructified to the desirable extent. In the sense, strategically speaking, India is more concerned about the security situation, that is the terrorist activities by fundamentalist elements. So how to overcome this situation? Again, Indian foreign policy is not able to overcome the adverse security situation, and it's not able to convert the insecure position into secure position through viable commercial transactions. And as a result, India is getting exposed to the market risk. For instance, in 2006, Iran offered the natural gas for 5.53 US dollars. That is for billion, the British thermal unit. But now the price has risen to $11. It's because of the inability to fructify the project and time and cost overruns. The cost overruns are to the degree of almost 4.5 times, and the time overrun is almost 20 years since the project was actually conceived in the year 1990. And so security situation is most important cause for not fructifying the oil and natural gas pipelines from Myanmar and Iran. So under this scenario, Russia becomes an important player. Like Russia is actually a stable economic partner and also partner in terms of defense ties and ties in science and technology. That's why it is believed that Russia is a most important partner. So, and how is it that Russia becomes an important partner? Because there is a buffer between India and Russia, that is China. China is #1 economic competitor, but China could be converted into a country that would cooperate with both India and Russia. Like the sea lanes, the Pacific Ocean, the South China Sea and the Bay of Bengal, the link between these oceans could be converted into very busy and viable economic zones. So India and Russia could actually, Indo-Russian friendship could actually translate Chinese competition into cooperation. So actually that is the important conclusion drawn by my paper. And the next important conclusion is that the strategic business initiatives have to be developed in order to make the Indo-Russian partnership viable. It's not the question of rhetorical statement of friendship, but mutual interest in investing in each other's countries and also identifying key sectors, key and profitable sectors. Indo-Russian trade is only $10 billion, whereas Indo-Chinese trade is $25 billion. And this has to be enhanced. This has to be enhanced a lot. Yeah, I think that's the crux of my paper.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Just one question, Doctor. Sarpudra Kumar Mandal.
First of all, before starting my presentation, I must say that the topic of my today's presentation is not directly related to what we are interested in, because today's presentation is concerned mostly about India and Russian collaboration in energy security. But I will be concentrating on a smaller part of that issue, that is measuring energy efficiency, and I will be using the data for Indian cement industry. So let me begin. Mostly, and the natural reserve as well as availability of physical capital impose some restriction and constraint on the supply side aspect. So when supply is constrained, then the second issue or second aspect, demand side aspect, can be a better alternative for securing energy security. And in the context of demand side aspect, improving energy efficiency is an integral part of this demand side aspect. So the integrated energy policy also indicates that lowering energy intensity of CTP coal to higher energy efficiency is critical to meet India's energy security. So I will be concentrating on measuring energy efficiency. Generally in the literature, energy efficiency has been measured by a ratio of the GDP and energy consumption. But the problem with that measure of energy efficiency is that it is highly descriptive in nature and it's very weak in the sense from that particular measure of energy efficiency we can't say, is there any opportunity for a particular production unit to improve its efficiency further by improving its efficiency. So how to measure efficiency in an alternative way? That will be the crux of my presentation. And here I will be concentrating on the directional distance function approach for measuring energy efficiency. I am not going into the mathematical detail of this problem on this model. Anybody interested can go through the paper what I have sent it to this seminar volume. Here we are considering a particular production unit A operating at point A, and the production unit wants to simultaneously reduce its energy consumption as well as increase the output. Now, how it can be possible if the production unit can reach to the frontier at point A? That is clearly, we can clearly see from the diagram that a movement from point A to B indicates both a reduction in energy demand as well as increase in output. And the distance from the frontier, beta, signifies the amount of energy inefficiency. Now, second empirical issue is who is constructing this benchmark frontier? That is the best performing production units or decision making units among the heterogeneous group. If we take an industry, then the firms which are using energy by 100% efficiency are constructing the frontier, and the firms like A which are operating below the frontier, we can consider them as inefficient firms. So in this way we have formulated our model and we have estimated the energy efficiency scores of the Indian cement industry. And this is the average efficiency scores of the Indian cement firms, and the score is 0.8955, which indicates that for Indian firms it is possible to reduce the energy consumption by 10.45% as well as increase output by 10.45% simultaneously. Secondly, we have tried to estimate some of the factors what can explain the variations in energy efficiency or inefficiency across the firms. For that, we have used some econometric regression analysis, and we are trying to explain the variations in terms of some firm specific factors like size, age of the firms, and capital energy ratio, labor productivity, and so on. So our regression analysis shows that size variable has a positive and significant coefficient, implying that larger the firm size, greater is the energy efficiency. And age of the firm is significant but having a negative sign, signifying that younger firms are having higher energy efficiency. And a positive and significant capital energy coefficient indicates that energy saving and thereby improving energy efficiency is a capital intensive process. Labor productivity is positive and significant, which implies that firms with higher quality of labor force experience higher energy efficiency. And finally, that's the most important thing that I want to mention is that we have introduced a dummy variable here in our analysis to test whether the energy conservation at 2001 has any significant impact on improving energy efficiency or not. It's coming insignificantly. That implies that the energy conservation at 2001 has not yet had any significant impact on improving energy efficiency as far as Indian cement industry is concerned. So the limitation of our analysis is that we have estimated the energy efficiency by assuming that the objective of the firms or the decision making unit is to reduce energy and increase the output. But there may be several other alternative objectives from the firm's point of view. And if the objectives are different, then the estimation of energy efficiency level will also differ. So we have tried to formulate what are the alternative behavioral objectives from the point of firms. These are some of the alternative behavioral assumptions from the firm's point of view. Number one, firms may seek to contract all the inputs, keeping output remaining same. Secondly, firms may wish to contract only the energy input and other inputs and output constant. Thirdly, firms may want to expand its output while keeping all other inputs same. And lastly, firms may want to choose that particular input bundle which minimizes the total cost. So these are the alternative measures. These are the alternative assumptions that also we can make to estimate the efficiency. So what we can I can mention here that measuring energy efficiency is not as simple as we think, because measurement of energy efficiency depends several objectives from who is producing something and who is using energy. If we use the different assumption from the production point of view, then our measurement of energy efficiency will differ. So for that, we have to first analyze what is the objectives of the firm or any decision making unit or the policy maker. Then we have to formulate appropriate model. Then we have to estimate energy efficiency. So in spite of the limitation of this present paper, what I have presented here, the present paper demonstrates that energy efficiency can be a better and effective solution for securing, for ensuring energy security and measurement of energy efficiency. We should take care of while estimating it, because if we take the simple measure of a value of output or energy consumption ratio, it will reflect an imperfect picture of the reality. So first of all, we have to formulate different behavioral objectives or assumptions from the production units or who is producing something. Then we have to formulate appropriate model. Then we have to estimate.
From my point of view, every presentations were very significant, scientific and practical. And I would like to mention that from my point of view, it's very important that we discuss the problem of prices for oil and gas. Now, in the situation of world financial crisis, it's very, very important, this approach to the problem. And the second one, I would like to mention that in Russian-Indian collaboration and cooperation on the energy problems, Russia can not only supply India by gas or oil, but also by technologies of new technologies. For example, several years ago, in my Academy of Sciences, the group was headed by academician and vice president of my academy, Nikolai Platet. They opened the new methods of drawing energy from gas methane, And the Indian Ocean, it's we knew it well, has big sources of methane. And the problem is how to use these sources for Indian economy. And I think we can continue such investigation of the problem of methane. It will be very, very useful for India. Well, thank you very much. And now I think we have
present discussing. Thank you very much. Yeah, we will again join the next session. Maybe half an hour.
Energy security is not just energy generation, it's not just energy transmission, but what are the basic inputs that are required, maintainability, sustainability, etc., etc. In this context, I would like to show some 2 or 3 projections. Well, among others, this morning Professor Ranganathan has given a talk, and also the others, they mentioned briefly about the nuclear power. I would like to elaborate a little more, and then tomorrow we are going to have a detailed talk by Professor Nagachi, who is the chief engineer and planning from NPCL, will be coming and giving us a talk. But how, in what manner the energy security requirements are being met by the nuclear side? Just, yeah, next one, please. Yeah. We should get a feel of world electricity generation. Out of this world electricity generation, you see here, this pie chart, the coal is around 39%, oil is 10%, gas is around 15%, and nuclear is 16%, and hydro is 19% as on today. But now, the thinking and trend is going to be changed in the coming few years because of, so you call it non-availability of the required quality resources, and also the developments that are taking place in the nuclear side. The nuclear side is going to, the contribution of the nuclear side is going to be increased enormously in the coming, call it 3 or 4 decades. Next. To get a feel of what is happening in the world, the nuclear generation, we are in our country, we are almost around 4%. But whereas you see here, our friends in Russia, Louisiana is almost around 8%. Of the power that is generated is through nuclear. France is almost, call it around 75 or 80%, 75%. And say for example, our this South Korea, now they plan to increase it to almost around this percentage, to almost around 70% in another, call it 10 to 15 years of time. They are thinking of having what you call so many nuclear power stations at a time. This is because of the environmental requirements and also the cost. Now the earlier people are talking about 200 megawatt electrical or 150 megawatt electrical, etc. We are now thinking of having around 1600 megawatt electrical power station because of the many advantages of the nuclear power, and also because of the necessity of taking care of the environmental requirements. So that way, as far as India is concerned, no doubt, with our financial inputs of the government, etc., we plan to have around 20% by 2050. That's the kind of a timetable what we have. Now, we plan to have at least around 10% by about 2025. That's the kind of a thinking. Next, please. The whole thing started by Dr. Homi Bhabha. He is the father of our nation. This morning, our Professor Mishra is also mentioning about him. And he laid the foundation with the excellent cooperation and help from our late Prime Minister Nehru. Next one. His vision. He is a great visionary, we all know. Dr. Homi Bhabha gave a vision and a roadmap for development of atomic atomic energy programs in India. Above was based on some fundamental realities. It is for this reason that his vision is largely valid even today. The Department of Atomic Energy remains committed to Dr. Baba's dream of developing a strong national capability in atomic energy for the benefit of our people. Next one, please. And this is the whole thing started in our as an R&D activity in BRC. Next one. There are different units, production units, etc., etc. I don't like to go with this. As I said earlier, what we need is for the reactor operation, it's not only erection and commissioning and operation, but to have a sustained operation, it is requirement is the fuel. The requirement of the fuel is, fortunately, in our nuclear fuel complex here in Hyderabad. This is a unique organization in the world. Like, I'm not that I was working in atomic energy, not that I was working at NSC, but as an Indian, we should be proud that NSC is a unique organization in the world because we start with some resources and what you call with almost war, and we have finished product under one roof. Next one, please. To give an idea, I think I will. This morning we talked about the per capita, etc. Next one, please. The basic approach in our country, just I would like to have another two or three. India is the only country in the world that has accorded a high priority to the use